You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Everyone, and welcome to Fika. We're going to be chatting about banning books today. And coming up first is a Fika regular. She's family now. She knows where the coffee is. She can make herself comfortable. Barbara Venkataraman. And she is an author, as you know, an attorney and moderator specializing in family law, and a Florida resident. But right now, we're not talking about Florida, because if I messed up the buttons at the beginning of the show, it's because Barbara just told me they defunded libraries in Missouri and some other things. And I'm trying to be a calm, intellectual discusser here, but it's a little hard. So welcome to Fika, Barbara.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love to be here, as you know. It's great.
So you were just saying that you just heard that they defunded libraries in Missouri.
Yes, in Missouri, they've just voted. Their Republican legislature just voted to defund public libraries. So it wasn't enough to ban books in schools. They're now attacking public libraries. Well, attacking them and also trying. This is the first one state that has totally defunded them.
And so Patty is here now. Shall we let her in? Okay. Yes. Here we go.
Thank you. I was trying to get it on the computer, but I'm having issues with the camera.
You look beautiful. I don't think you're having issues with the camera at all. Welcome to Fika, Patty. And this is the first time we've met. So I will just give you a minute there.
Okay. Can you see me?
I can see you. You look perfect.
Okay.
Everything is wonderful. So this is the first time we've met. It's nice to meet you. And can you say your last name right? Just so that I make sure that I say it correctly.
It's Biase.
Biase. There, you were right, Barbara. Biase. Okay, I'm going to give you a little introduction here. So Patty is a retired teacher from Broward County, Florida, with 38 years teaching experience from kindergarten to grade 5, third grade being her favorite. She is vice president for the Hispanic Caucus, secretary for the Weston Democratic Club. But we're talking about a very dramatic thing here, so, you know.
Yeah, very dramatic entry. Sorry, guys.
She is also a member of the Truth Matters Project, with which she's been attending school board meetings and taking notes. Oh, did we lose her?
No, I'm here. I'm just switching.
So, welcome to Fika, Patty. And, you're definitely making it an interesting day. So
sorry about that.
So we're all three of us here now. And Barbara was just telling me that they defunded the public libraries in Missouri. So I was just getting over that. And have you heard that?
No, I haven't. I've just been up to date with the stuff we're having here in Florida, which is crazy.
So we'll start with that. Well, the most important question that I'm curious about is, why was grade 3 your favorite? I mean, that would have been about 8-year-olds. Why are 8-year-olds your favorite?
I enjoyed it more. I tried first and second, and I just like the curriculum in third grade a little better. They're very eager to learn, and they can take in a lot more than just learning to read. This is the first year they're reading to learn.
So yeah, it's a little exciting, and they're a little bit more on their feet. They don't need to be taken care of as much. So a little bit more independent, probably. So, okay, well, we're going to ask you, you have 38 years experience in the system and just recently retired. So what are you seeing happening in the schools?
Well, I've seen the morale of the teachers and administration go way down. They're very scared of everything that's happening. Like classrooms, library, they've taken years to accumulate books, and now they have to put them away because they're afraid that a parent is going to scream out that they're not happy with it. according to the new law in Florida.
Which is very, very indecisive. Like nobody really, it's all about perspective, right? Like one person may find something offensive that another person doesn't.
Exactly. And you're going to have different, from school to school, you're going to have different parents complaining about a book. Mm-hmm. And just one parent needs to complain, and it's got to be pulled out until there's a procedure to see if it's going to go back or not onto the shelf.
And that's what I've read about the procedure, is that it takes a very, very, very long time.
Exactly.
So we're sort of thinking that they get taken off the shelves into a mystery land, Barbara. Yeah. Back in the closet, never to see the light again, right?
Especially when we have such a shortage of media specialists, because they want the media specialists to read the books and approve them. What we did at the school board is we said, you have to have a committee, read the books. You have to have checklists,
right?
Before you take it out. Otherwise, they're overwhelmed. The media specialists are overwhelmed. They're not going to get to all these books. And what are you going to have? Different schools ban different books?
No. Well, and let's clear that up. The new term media specialist is really a librarian, right?
Yes, a librarian with some tech, because now you have other things besides books.
Right. So, so for all us old people, it is a librarian with special talents. And they had to take a special course this summer, didn't they?
They did, because they have to be very aware with the high technology, and they have the smart boards. There's a lot of things in the library, which is now called the media center instead of the library.
So it's a young person's game, because with all that tech. I'm not going to say anything, but I know where my skills lay and don't. And that would be one of them. So now, we'll start with the libraries in the classroom. Okay, because we all know that there's shelves of books, and a lot of those books are purchased by the teachers themselves, aren't they?
Yes. Or donated by the parents, or the teachers write a grant, like donors choose, and you put out there and you add books to your library.
So it's a gift of love.
Yes.
Really, that they're giving the kids. They know they're interested in those. They know those kids, and they know what they would be interested in.
And more lately, like, we have to let the kids read. Like, if they're slow readers, we have to give them, books that they can read on their own. And you're not going to stop somebody reading above grade level, so you got to challenge them. And you have books, so the teachers will label them by, Lexile levels, which means like an age appropriate reading level.
Right, because you're worried about reading. They're reading. Who cares? What?
Yes, exactly.
Reading, that's the important thing. And getting an interest in reading.
Yes.
So I know that you're not in the classroom now, but knowing kids, especially smaller ones, the idea of them showing, I love the bookcases because it's something they get to choose and something they're comfortable with the level of, and no one's testing them on it. And then they walk into class, and not because the teachers are trying to make a point, just because they're scared for their jobs and their livelihood and their future. They walk into the class, and these shelves are covered over. They're
very limited. Yes,
and like just the change and the confusion, it's got to be being picked up by the little ones.
Yes. I have grandkids now in kindergarten, first and third grade, and I've been having to take my granddaughter to the public library every other week to get books, because her mom says she's not bringing books like she used to before.
Because they're not available. Barbara?
Patty, I had a question. And Patty, aren't they being threatened with felony charges if they leave a book out that is banned?
Well, that's what we heard. Nothing's happened yet, but with the media specialists, that's what they're afraid of, especially if it's on their shoulders that they have to approve the books or not.
Right. And you know what I saw? The number one book that's being banned is And Tango Makes Three, about two male penguins that are raising a baby penguin. I mean, your mind just explodes with.
Yes, there's another book about Marlo and the bunny, and it's about a boy bunny that wants to marry a boy bunny. Okay, they're not teaching sex. What they're teaching with those books is tolerance, diversity and acceptance.
Of course.
So what we suggested to the school board was, why don't we have it at the beginning of the year with the paperwork, the registration, have an opt out. The parents opt out of their child not being able to go to the media and check out any books. So there's a red flag, so they know. But it's not fair that those parents want to censor everybody's kids, not just their own. And that's what's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're right.
They have the right. They have the right to censor what their kids read, but not everybody else's.
And because they're to the right.
All the way to the right. Exactly.
Well, I wasn't thinking that when I said they're right, but you know, I'm trying to behave. Barbara is such a bad influence. You just be careful down there. She can get me in all kinds of trouble. Okay, so they don't have, and what I mean, there are the people that are, I'm pretty sure about the felony charges because I read that on like either NBC or like one of the, you know, so we have to, we'll come back and check on that to make sure, but I'm pretty, Barbara's searching. Okay. I'm pretty sure that that's a thing. Okay. So, the felony charges. So people will say, well, why don't they can just go buy books on Amazon, or they can just go to a public library, which they can't now in Missouri, but so that makes that question obsolete. They can just go to a library and pick up the book. But I think we're not forgetting that not everybody can afford books or even transportation. I grew up in a rural area. Like, you know, it was a great treat to go to the library in town. But this did not happen every day.
Exactly. And not everybody can go on Amazon and order their kids' books every other week.
No. Well, because let's face it, they are getting more expensive. I mean, especially the picture books because of the artists and things like that. But to get a really good picture book, you're looking at probably $30.
Yeah.
Right? And people just can't afford that, especially now. So, look at that, Patty. You're there, and your empty room is over there down at the green room. Your empty room is waiting for you.
Because I had the computer on. I was going to switch from my phone to the computer.
That's just fine. I was just like, and why is there 4?
Well, if you let me in the computer, I'll turn the phone off.
No, that's okay. It's good to know you're doing this on your phone. Then it's possible to do that. Okay,
yes.
Okay. Because I know some people who have would like to do this, but they don't have like earplugs in their iPads. Yeah, there isn't a jack for their earphones or whatever. So we'll go on with that. All right, Patty. So what children do you think are being most affected by these laws and this lack of availability?
Well, really, all of them. I mean, of course, the people that have less money and cannot buy books are affected, but so is everybody else affected because they're not reading the books that they need to be reading. I mean, we need to have equal education for all. They need to be exposed to all those things. So now if we just take them away and only a few elite people read them, that's not doing us any service. The community is what I'm saying.
So the children that they say they're protecting are a very narrow margin of children.
Exactly.
And it's not. So we've talked about the fact that these laws are not very precise. They're confusing.
Very confusing the way they word it. Yes.
The teachers are afraid for their future, their livelihood, their jobs, their homes, and their families. And all it takes is one parent to say, no books. I don't like that book. And it's gone, even if they didn't read it.
Exactly. And they have not read it because you ask them, why are you opposed to that book? Oh, because it's on the banned list. Well, excuse me. First you read it and tell me why. I mean, if there's a book about pornography or child abuse, okay, yes, I would, take it out. They had some books about sex trafficking. They wanted to put it in high school. Some kids in middle school are getting abused, so they need to know. So we're not doing them a service by hiding them and waiting.
No, because I actually read one of the books that was banned in Martin County, The Storyteller by Jodi Picoult. And she wrote in that book, which I quoted, "That's why we read fiction, isn't it? To remind us that whatever we suffer, we're not the only ones."
Exactly.
So if they're afraid to say something, they don't have the words, that book may help them to have the courage to say something and to have those words.
I'm
And
very proud of some of our young kids that we had high school and college students come and speak at the school board saying exactly what you just said. I wasn't the only one. I felt I could talk to my teacher about this, you know, it opened up the door. You're right.
and yeah, no, there is, we have this image of childhood innocence, but it's imagined. Kids go through a lot and they don't understand it, and they don't have anyone to talk to about it because they don't know the words to use, as we said. And these books are so important for those children to go through.
Yeah.
Patty, Patty, just because Patty's here doesn't mean it's school.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I love that quote by Albert Camus that said, "Fiction is the lie through which we tell the truth." I mean, kids believe their childhood is normal, even if they're being beaten every day, until they are exposed to what other, to the world. And reading is the way you get exposed to the world. And I also wanted to add that these laws are intentionally vague. And when the teachers or the schools ask for guidance from the governor or the legislature, they refuse to give it because they just want a chilling effect. They want you to be terrified to do anything, so that you just ban everything. I mean, it's very chilling. And it is ironic that Margaret Atwood is one of the authors that are banned mostly in a lot of states, because she foresaw this dystopia.
It's like when you say, well, it's the way it's being set up. To say a third-degree felony, which is equal to manslaughter, don't you? For a book, like, this is totally criminalizing them. Sorry, I'm getting upset. Criminalizing them to this point where people are going to start looking at them funny. Like, it starts with something like this. It starts with a whisper, and then it just keeps growing. But wait, I'm not going to be dramatic. Okay. It's just very hard not to be.
Right. Well, we keep seeing pictures of Nazi Germany where they're burning books. I mean,
exactly.
That's where they started.
Well, I mean, that's the point. The storyteller is about Nazi Germany, and it was banned. And I'm having troubles right now because, I mean, it was in a high school. All right. So, I'm sorry, but I believe there are many children, a number of children in the high school having sex. So, let's not cover our eyes to this. But I read that book, and it keeps saying graphic sex scenes in these articles. And now I have to go back and read it again because I'm thinking, okay, I usually have a good memory, but I don't I remember, the fading in before kind of thing, and then the fading out till the end kind of thing, and that the Nazis were not paying attention to them because that was against the rules, because they weren't considered, touchable kind of thing. So I'm not even seeing in the books the things that they say are in the books. But it was much about critical thinking, and that's also why we need books, right? So we can say, well, that character wasn't so smart, right? I think the penguins were smart, Patty. but cute. I don't even think the kids are just thinking penguins when they read that, right? They're just thinking penguins. So it is, I think, important for critical thinking, for us to for kids to see that they're not alone, and to now, people that are still teaching. I'm sure you're still in touch with people who are teaching. Yeah. Patty, how do you get a general feeling of how this is affecting them day to day? Like, it's got to be stressful. It's got to be.
It is. Some of them are just like putting in their time. They're counting the days when they can retire, which is sad. Like, I would have stayed teaching if it wasn't during COVID. I had to stay home and watch my grandkids. because I left it, and I know a lot of teachers that do love it, and now they're thinking maybe I should. My own daughter-in-law and my son, they moved out of Florida because they had 2 kids, a 3-year-old and a brand new baby, that I retired to babysit. They moved out because of the situation here.
So, but the point is clear, and I want to make that clear to anyone who is listening, that this is not just a Florida situation. We're just not banging on Florida because it's starting to spread. And
It is. It's a domino effect for sure.
Right,
for
right.
Sure.
So we should be
that's
concerned.
The scary part.
Yeah, no, because I mean they're testing the waters to see what they can do, right?
Yeah.
So the teachers are not feeling good about going, and that's going to get picked up by the kids, right? They feel whatever you're feeling, pretty much, right, Patty? If the teacher's not completely there in the class, the kids know.
Yeah, they feel like, am I supposed to talk about this or not? Like even my granddaughter, they asked her, "Did you read this?" And she looked at me first, like, "Do I answer or not?" You know?
Oh, that is so.
And she's in 3rd grade.
That is so sad. So
yes.
so there's a shame effect happening.
Yes, because her parents are really open about everything, and they let her read stuff. They talk about things. They don't keep, they're very diverse in their thinking. And then when she's in school, she thinks if somebody asks her in front, like, you put me on the spot. Like, how do I answer this? So she looks at her mom, and her mom goes, "Okay, it's okay, honey, go ahead." Like, isn't that sad?
No, the whole thing is just sad. It's just sad. So you go to the school board meetings and you listen to what they're saying, and you've made, the opt-out solution. Why not?
Yes, that was our recommendation. And some of the school board members said yes, they thought that was a good idea. They're going to do a workshop and look into it, how we, instead of breaking the law, work around the law,
And yeah, no. Well, it's like that. Like, they can already opt out of sex education, can't
they? Exactly. And all along, the parents right to see the curriculum for the sex education. That was another thing 2 weeks ago they talked about, revamping the sex education. They want to pull a lot of things out of sex education. For example, you can't talk about menstruation till middle school. Well, some kids develop in 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah, I was telling Barbara that I had an aunt that very, very early, like surprisingly early, and that wasn't anything to do with what we're eating today or anything. That was many, many years ago. She's passed now. And it's a terrifying experience, even if you know what's going on. That first time. And so we're bringing shame to that too. It was just coming out as a natural part that you didn't have to hide. You could still live your life. And now we're pushing it back again.
But like you said, the parents always had the option to opt out. We're just trying to add the book situation to the opt out. If you don't want your kids reading certain books, it's not like the teacher's teaching them, but they're out there in case, a student is curious and wants to read it, or there are good books. They were banning Frog and Toad. I read that to my 1st and 2nd graders all the time. It was about a frog and a toad. Nothing wrong with the book. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is on the ban list.
Oh, yeah, but Dr. Seuss has some pretty... I love Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss. And I'm thinking about... names are... Okay, the turtles, Myrtle the turtle, how the turtles kept piling up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, until the bottom turtle. They should be not banning Dr. Seuss. They should be reading Dr. Seuss, because when the bottom turtles get upset, it all comes falling down.
Yeah.
So they should be sent to Dr. Seuss' book to read. No, it's something that everybody should get behind, regardless of what they believe, because it can happen to anybody and their books. So the suggestions you have tried to make, and you've said, you've got to be more precise with the language, and it's just, you're just getting silence back. There's no they don't really listen to your ideas, is what I'm trying to say.
And they're not very clear. For example, the district is supposed to be a district decision, but then you tell them, if somebody in your school calls it, the principal has to immediately remove it. So that's not a district. That's school by school choice.
Yeah, I
it,
still can't get over if somebody calls the school, it's just done.
Yeah, the book is done.
Just one person
And the book is
that.
in limbo without having read it, without any groups. Like you could have a group read the book and see, okay, this is right. Let's put it on the shelf, out of the shelf until we evaluate it more. No, immediately gets pulled out.
Even if I can just see this kid holding on to this book. Like, I have to find out what happened. I would be very upset if I was halfway through a book and you did that to me.
Well, not to sound like devil's advocate, but the Bible has a lot of graphic stuff on it.
Oh, there is.
So are we going to pull that out next?
Yeah, graphic violence.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember in the St. James version, Barbara, you will be amazed, but I was teaching Sunday school. They gave me a passage from the Good News Bible. I was supposed to be in the Good News Bible, but I didn't have that. So I looked up in the St. James, and it was about Sodom and Gomorrah. And there was this angel came to this guy's house, and they were very pretty looking. So the men came to have their way with them. And the owner of the house said, "Oh, don't take them. Take my virgin daughters." That's what they said. And I was like, I don't teach Sunday school anymore. But
is that why?
There are many reasons. I quit and I went back, but because my kids wanted to see what church was like. But you're open. You let them try everything, and that's the point. They have to decide for themselves. But you brought up something. The kids are curious to read those books, and curiosity is one of the biggest pushers for learning new things, isn't it, Patty? Like, you
definitely.
Yeah, you don't want to
like education is just not repeating facts. Like, what year did the war happen or whatever. Education is teaching them to think. We need them to have critical thinking skills.
Yeah, no, that's what we're trying to
learn information and memorize it.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to solve.
Yeah,
is critical thinking with all these new ideas. Instead of taking books out of the library, they should be filling them up with more. It doesn't matter if they're great ideas or bad ideas, because it's our job to figure that out, right? As we read.
Well, they want people scared and just follow whatever they say. Don't argue.
Well, it's not like any three of us would do that, right? Did you tell me what to do? I don't think so. So, okay, so they're stopping curiosity, which is the natural learning process. They're stopping critical thinking. They're not allowing these kids to have fictional models so that they can know what they're going through or what they shouldn't be going through. I mean, they talk about girls and there's sex in these books, but it's also showing them, yes, but this is not healthy sex. This is healthy sex. Like this, I mean, I don't care. Even if you're the most open person in the world, would be difficult to sit down with your parent as a teenager and talk about those things. Mm-hmm. Don't you think that a book is a private way of doing that?
Definitely. Even with that young girl that spoke out about human trafficking, if they didn't know, hey, this is wrong, I shouldn't be in here, let me talk to somebody about this. If she had not read about it, how would she know that this is not normal?
Exactly. There are lessons, and as we said, a lot of the books are somewhat biographical, so they the authors who write those books know what those feelings were like, mm-hmm. and what it was like to be a kid in that situation. So I think we all talk too fast. That's the problem.
Oh, we've got more to talk about. No.
I know. We just buzzed through.
I'm just going to tell you a bookmarker.
Okay. I read banned books. Good for you.
Right. Well, the other I was going to say, I mean, the books they're banning are basically books about race and racism, books about sex education, books about characters, anything with characters of color. I mean, they were banning the book about Roberto Clemente in Florida and just his life story, as a baseball player. And then anything that has to do with LGBTQ, anything. They're trying to ban that. And then, of course, what they call CRT, which is just their made up, theory. CRT stands for critical race theory. The only place that was ever taught was in law school. And they're just making stuff up and saying CRT is taught everywhere. If you ask all these book banning parents, what is CRT? They haven't got a clue. They can't even even define it, because it's just anything they don't like and anything that has to do with people that don't look like them. And it's really disturbing what they're trying to do here. And it also has to do with the bigger picture of school vouchers, because they're trying to defund public education. Basically, it is the dumbing down of the electorate. And they're trying to do it. They're trying to groom children into, non-thinkers. And the whole robots. And the whole school voucher program is about defunding public education. And they've been trying to do it for decades and decades. They're trying to do it. And it really comes down to Christian nationalism. I mean, it's basically, you got plenty of money if you want to send your kid to a Christian school that's private, that won't teach, anything about gay people or black people or brown people or racism or anything. But it takes the money away from the public education system. And we had a school board member speaking to us about how they're going to have to be laying off teachers, and they're not going to have enough money to run the school system with this voucher system, because it is going to take billions of dollars away from public education.
And no one will feel sorry for the teachers because they've criminalized them.
Right. Well, I guess. I mean,
that's a little like it shoots to that direction, but that's how it all pieces together.
Right.
And in the end, we see them as the bad people. So, we just keep saying that over and over.
Right. And we have a 9,000 teacher shortage in Florida right now. And if you think any new teachers are coming, in this environment, it's not happening.
You're 100% right, Barbara. They want to take the money away from the defund public education. But the thing is, a lot of the parents don't understand that voucher is not going to cover private school education. The private school might be $12,000, $15,000. So really, this is a coupon for the rich. Because if you're poor, and I'm going to say, I'm going to take my kid out, I'm going to put him in a private school, but you're giving me $8,000. Where am I going to get the other $8,000?
Right.
So I can't do that.
Right. And those private schools do not have to cater to disabled kids. They don't have to follow the same rules as the public education. They don't have to do anything they don't want to. And so all those kids are left out in the cold.
And they don't have a special ed classes. We've had kids turn away. They went to a charter school, a private school. They don't have special ed. They don't have hearing impaired. Then they come back to the public schools, and we have to take them in without any funding, because the funding already went to that private school.
Because they stole your money.
They stole the money, and then the school has to take them back. And after FTE count, you don't get any money for that child.
Wait, and it gets even worse. You can say you have a charter school, you can get all this money, and then you can just close it down.
Exactly.
Take the money and run. There's no accounting.
We've had a lot of those.
I can't even tell you how bad this is going to be.
So, and it is a long-term game. Like, this is just the beginning. Like, because if you take those books about, I mean, there was something in the Woke Act about, well, if a kid reads something that his nationality did or whatever, he would feel guilty about it. And I'm like, why? Is he codependent? Right. Like, just see that it's wrong.
Well, they've been trying to defund public education for decades, and there's a really good documentary called Book Backpacks Full of Cash that deals with what they've been trying to do to defund public education. And when you see it, it's just so shocking and horrifying. And here we are. It's actually coming and people are like surprised, they don't understand that, like Patty said, that voucher isn't going to get you anything. It's going to take your $8,000 away from public ed. You're going to hand it to a private school. They're going to say, oh, we're sorry, you don't have the rest of the money, get out of here, and that money's now gone. It's just gone.
I was so upset. I'm not paying attention to comments. Sorry. Oh, it's just Brian.
Yeah.
Are there federal here? We might have to show this. No. So it's been going. Why aren't you showing up, Brian?
There it is. Are there federal laws, he wants to know, that are banning it? That's a good question. I mean, the schooling is up to the states, but we do have a U.S. Constitution with freedom from, separation of, religion and state, and the First Amendment right to speech. And we, in fact, I even did a little law practice here, and I pulled a thing that said there was a Supreme Court decision in Island Trees versus Pico that banning or restricting books in public schools for content and or viewpoint specific reasons is unconstitutional. And then they laid out processes for how you can ban books or what you can do, and they're not following those rules. So the answer is yes, there are lawsuits waiting to happen here, but lawsuits cost money and lawsuits take time. And when you have judges that are biased and put in by a right-wing, state government, they may not rule the way they're supposed to. I mean, are you going to appeal it and appeal it and appeal it? I mean, it's really rigged against you. Yes, I would love to see the feds come in and do something about this. And I keep asking why, if that's possible, and why they don't do it, because these are egregious violations of First Amendment rights of the students, of the teachers, everybody. It's
and
horrifying.
the longer we wait for something to happen, the more that
it's going to destroy the public school system, and it'll reach a point of no return.
Yep.
And the damage has been done, because we are talking kids, and a year makes a lot of difference.
It does. It really does.
Okay, so I'm going to put this up because apparently another comment, but I'm not seeing the comments today, so I don't know why. Is the answer to stay and fight or move away to a better place? Well, I think that depends on whether you have kids or not.
Well, even with kids, it's sometimes, you have jobs, you have family that, you're taking care of older people. You can't just pick up and leave. We're going to have to like an underground railroad for books. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you know what? There's enough snowbirds going there from the northern region that it would be easy to put together, I think.
An underground railroad of books.
But I mean, who would ever think? I mean, it's sad, because who would ever think that we would even be
right?
Do
you remember the book Sybil, the woman with all the different personalities? Mm-hmm. Okay, so she was horribly abused by her mother, and I read the book, and one passage stuck in my head. I mean, I was a teenager when I read it, and she went to a friend's house, and the mother was really, really nice to her, and she thought, wow, she's so nice to her, I'm sure she'll start beating her as soon as I leave, because that was her norm.
Experience.
That was her experience of life. And, your perception of the world is your world. Yep. And that's why you need to read books.
They need to be there. They just really do. I realize I'm doing a whole show about books, and that I want and I think that parents need to get out there and read the books that have been banned and say, okay, excuse me, like, I'm not seeing this. This is in a high school. Like, what is your problem? Are we saying that there was, yes, it is. Brian says it's time to reread Fahrenheit 451, which
Yes,
is
right?
one of mine. And
That's the
I
next
have
step.
another author who's supposed to be coming on to talk to me about that. And I'm like, okay, this is getting too close. I have to give Sarah a call, okay, because love Bradbury. And that book was banned on several occasions.
It was. And you know what? I had a question for Patty. Isn't it true that people are trying to ban books who don't even have kids in the school?
Yes.
Tell us about that. I just heard about it, but
It's just that I think one of you mentioned a little while ago, what they're trying to make our kids all turn out to be white Christian soldiers. Because they have no right, they don't have any kids, no interest. So why are they doing this? Our Broward County party started asking for donations. We've gotten thousands and thousands of banned books. And you know how you have the little libraries on the corner? The little glass houses.
Yeah, I want one. Yeah,
we've been putting those throughout the parks, throughout the county. We've been filling them up with all banned books.
Good for you. Because I'm like, this is becoming even more important, especially since libraries, they know what books you took out or whatever. Amazon, they know what you bought. I often sit there. Okay, this is my. We all have those nightmares, the worst case scenario. Well, this is my nightmare. I'm thinking, what books do you save?
They don't like that we're saying banned books. Now they want us to change it to challenge books. If a book is challenged, it's going through a process. You have to go through the full process before it gets banned. Well, so far that process is going to take forever.
So it's banned.
There's nobody to
once they take it off the shelf, it's never coming on the shelf.
Yeah. They also don't want you to say don't say gay, but that is what the law is.
So now it's don't say gay and don't say banned.
So did those people just disappear? That they just
the books?
No, the people.
When they say don't say gay.
Oh.
Did they just disappear because no, there is. Well, see, this is the thing, because I read that the governor said, oh, no, this is not a statewide thing. This is a local thing. But the movement behind it is statewide.
It's national.
So, yeah.
It's national. Moms for Liberty is nationally funded by the Koch brothers, one of whom is now deceased, but it's their foundation.
And that's the group.
So Mary in Tennessee tells Gloria in Missouri that these are the books that we're banning. They send out the newsletter, and then they walk into all the schools at the same time and ban all those books.
Even if they don't have kids.
This has been, I have absolutely no problems with people who are Christians. And I have no problems with people who have conservative ideas. But when you put those two and extreme it together...
And you insist that we follow your rules.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Those are their beliefs. You cannot impose them on everybody.
Right. I mean, this is an extreme example, and I have nothing against anybody, but what if the majority of our Supreme Court were Jehovah's Witnesses who don't believe in blood transfusions? And they said, listen, we don't believe in blood transfusions, so nobody can have a blood transfusion. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
When they say nobody can have a medical procedure that they need because we don't believe in it.
That's true.
It is that it doesn't matter who it is. You cannot control someone else's lives. You can't.
They're sure trying.
And they're trying. They're trying. But I mean, you can't do it and be nice. It's Barbara. But it's down to this and not reading the books. I was reading that John Steinbeck. It is John Steinbeck. Yeah. I'm losing names today.
Yeah.
Okay, the first person that burned his book was they told him a story, one of the migrant farm workers, that he made them look this way and that. So his words were, I didn't read the book, but I heard a radio show that made me angry. And I thought, oh my gosh, how many times could this be could be YouTube? And I didn't read this book, but YouTube made me angry about it. Or I didn't read this book, but I really think someone should have to write a 5-page report, even if it's just about 2 penguins adopting.
The problem is they would use Chat GPT and they wouldn't read it.
Yeah.
No, it's just like you can't. And so therefore they can't understand the importance of reading. Right. Because the empathy and that it's about I still can't believe someone's supposed to feel guilty. Like, I just don't even know how that connection would be made. You would feel empathy if you heard something happen to people that was negative. You would feel compassion. You would say to yourself, I don't like this. How will I change it?
There's more. The textbooks, they're rewriting the textbooks. So they rewrote one where Rosa Parks, they didn't even say what race she was. Did you hear that one? They tried to sanitize Rosa Parks' story.
She sat in the back because she was tired.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm telling you. Wait.
Did that actually say that, or did you just make that up, Patty?
No, for real.
Oh,
right.
And I was going to think, clever girl. Now I'm just frightened.
Right. And then the triangle of slavery, where they traveled. I forgot what they called it, but the triangle, they changed that to like the triangle of commerce. I mean, they just want
because they're rewriting history.
Of course they are.
Because they're, they want to make everything sound like an exaggeration, which is, I was reading the very first book, Birdie, and there was an emperor way back in time. I don't want to say what nationality because I might make someone feel guilty. It was like 251 BC or whatever. And the first way, he took all the records of the histories and burned them. And then he buried all the historians, literally, because you could get away with that back. And then he kept one of each book. And then just before he died, he had those burned because he wanted history to start with him.
I get it. Listen, I wanted to go back 1 second to the whitewashing of history in our country. I mean, and it goes back to the Groveland Four. I was born in Florida. I never heard about the Groveland Four until this book came out, The Devil in the Grove. And, this was a big thing. I mean, the National Guard had to, the Ku Klux Klan burned down all the Black people's houses and businesses. The National Guard had to be called in. This was Thurgood Marshall came to file an appeal. He feared for his life. This was a huge thing in history in Florida, this was the Rosewood Massacre, the Ocoee Massacre, all these things, against Black people. I never heard about them. And
I grew up in Florida. I never heard about it either.
And I'm just saying, it's the whitewashing of history. And if you look all over, I don't know if you guys saw The Watchmen, the series The Watchmen. That was the first time most people heard about the Tulsa Black Wall Street and the Tulsa massacre there of all the Black people. It was the first time I heard of it. I mean, I feel like I'm a well-read person who knows some history. I don't know anything because they've wiped it out of the history books, and now they're trying to go even further.
I still can't believe I'm sorry, because you're talking about wiping out history, and then you think, well, people need to just go out and read themselves, and then you think Missouri just defunded the library. Like, it just keeps circling around.
Right. Exactly. No, I mean, they don't want you to know any history that,
But look how long it took to clear the name of those men in the Groveland
70
War.
years. Well,
and have you read it, Patty?
No, I just wrote it down. I'm gonna go check it.
The Devil in the Grove. The Devil in the Grove. It won a Pulitzer Prize, and the author had spent 5 years researching it. Yeah.
And then also read Barbara and Josh's book because what that meant to those families. Like, people are saying, you're making us look bad. Why are you thinking? Did Josh feel guilty? No, he went out and did something. He felt compassion.
What's the name of that book?
It's called The Devil in the Grove, and it's about the Groveland Four Black men who were wrongfully accused, tortured, beaten, murdered, in Groveland, Florida, which is outside of Orlando, in 1949. Okay. And then my son read the book in college, and he wanted to clear their names. And so he partnered with one of the daughter of the youngest one. Wow. Our book is called Accidental Activist, Justice for the Groveland Four.
It's a great book. It really is.
And it took 2 years.
Accidental Activist?
Justice for the Groveland Four. And it had been 70 years, but it still was affecting these families, that there was this cloud over their families' heads, that their fathers and brothers and uncles had been wrongfully accused and convicted and murdered for this nonsense that didn't happen. And, even after this Pulitzer Prize winning book came out, their names weren't cleared. And so my son and Charles Greenlee's daughter, Carol Greenlee, they partnered up, and it took them 2 years, and a lot of people joined in, and 4 years, and they got their names. They got posthumous pardons.
Oh wow, that's
and
great.
In fact,
what's your son's name?
Well, it's the same as mine, Josh Venkataraman.
Oh,
but
okay.
I just read an article.
Your book.
That
is one book that needs to be sold, Barbara.
Yeah,
I'm gonna order one, Barb.
Well, and the other thing is that you know, I forgot what I was going to say about the book, but yeah, it took 4 years. Oh, so I read an article that said that Governor DeSantis has only done 2 good things the entire time he's been in office, and one of them was pardon the Groveland 4.
Really?
See how much power you have.
I'm just saying, it's all connected. It's all
Wow.
So you have to say, remember me? Remember my kid? We're watching.
Yeah. Right. And in fact, I've had Black Floridians come up to me and say, well, actually it was at a Zoom book review and they said, if Governor DeSantis pardoned the Groveland 4, then why is he doing so many things against Black people? And I said, he didn't have a choice. He got pushed into a corner with that because Nikki Fried was going to bring it up at the clemency meeting when she was Secretary of Agriculture. And so he didn't want her to get the glory. So he did it. But, that's the only thing. One of 2 things he's done right. And that was it. Everything else has been terrible.
I have Nikki coming Wednesday to be our speaker at our club meeting.
Oh, that's great.
This Wednesday, the 12th.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, Nikki's fighting hard.
Yeah.
She just got arrested. Did you see that, Vicky?
I know. We thanked her for that. I mean, that was amazing.
They were protesting the 6-week abortion ban. Mm-hmm. And the governor had his political enemies arrested outside of the Capitol.
Because you can't protest unless you align with his beliefs.
Uh-huh.
So
it's ridiculous because we can't teach about sex.
Right.
And we can't teach about periods. So how is a young girl supposed to know she's even pregnant?
Oh, and then she can't terminate that pregnancy
because it's 6 weeks.
Uh-huh.
So he's forcing them to give birth so that they can get shot out of school.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everything is very harrowing living in Florida right now. I can't, and every day it gets worse. Now they've got
know what?
Yeah.
I see people like you in Florida. I have hope.
Oh, good.
I think you're wonderful and brave and all that stuff.
Well, you only have 2 choices. You only have 2 choices: fight or give up, right?
Well, that's it. And I don't think any of you are going to give up.
No, I love Florida too much to give up.
No.
I want to turn it blue again.
Yeah.
Barbara, where are you at?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay. All right. You're a neighbor.
Yeah. And I just wrote a book. I just wrote a YA book with a gay character. And I'm afraid it's going to get banned.
No way! No. If it gets banned, it'll hit the top selling.
That would be something.
This is the point, okay? I was going to say one of the positive things about something like this happens is that my reading list, which I have no time to get finished, has just gone because you read that about Steinbeck, and then there's a guy who wrote a book about his book being challenged and everything, and I'm like, okay, gotta read that, and now I have to read everything by Jodi Picoult, and now I have to read I was off of young adult novel. Your kids, you read them with your kids, and then you're like, no, not again. But yeah, I'm jumping in that world again.
Right. I mean, Judy Blume.
Oh, yeah, we
just gave a big interview in Vanity Fair, and she blasted Florida. I mean, she blasted. Judy Blume. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no. She's got to be royalty at this point. Now, Brian is exactly right about this because I was mad that it's not, and this is what you have to remember. It's not just the USA. It's not just Florida.
No, it's not.
In Toronto, Canada, the mayor wanted to defund libraries several years ago. It was
Wow.
it was a big thing. And Margaret had a lot to say about that. Let me tell you.
Yes, Margaret Atwood. I bet. In fact, I have a list of where they're banning books, and it's Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Utah. Where's the rest of it? Of course, Missouri, where they're, yeah, but they're actually, there's book bans: Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Michigan, Kansas, Wisconsin, Missouri, Idaho, Georgia, Mississippi, Virginia, Indiana, North Carolina, New York, which is shocking to me, and Utah. So, of course, Northern New York is not the same as New York City.
No.
No, but
that's
yeah.
different thing.
But
So,
these book bans are terrifying. Yeah.
I think that I need to get Reading Rebels, because that's what you are now if you read, apparently. Reading Rebels t-shirts. Start putting it on the show. And it's just funny because the logo that I want to design, because I've always been big in flamingos, and flamingos remind me, I want a flamingo with headphones drinking coffee out of a mug. Flamingos remind me of Florida, and they're vibrant, and, they say, look at me, I've got something to show you. And so you ladies are flamingos.
Okay, we'll take it.
You're out there and you're being vibrant and you're saying this thing. So we have to chat again. We have to check in. Is that okay? Patty, do you want to come back sometime?
Invite me anytime. I'd be glad to.
Okay, we'll check in again. And Barbara, we'll just we'll just be writing emails, because I still have to have something defunded the library. No,
I know.
Be. So, and you stay strong, and you take those notes. Okay, you go to those board meetings and you take names, Patty, and we'll get it all together. So thank you so much. Thank you, because people, you read 17, they don't know who's exaggerating, they don't know but this is the truth, and it's clear and it's straightforward. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you for the invite.
Oh, definitely. I'm glad to meet you.
Same here, Barbara. I'm going to go get that book.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, that was a wonderful conversation. And yes, we're going to have the Reading Rebels back. We'll be doing the flamingo. Next week, our guest will be Halo Quinn, and she is a practicing witch, storyteller, and author. We'll be discussing her books, Crimson Crafts, Gods and Goddesses of Wales, and Fairy Tales, Folk Tales, and Spirits. And apparently we better do that fast, because that's just the kind of books that aren't going to be left on the shelves. So until then, may your coffee be hot and your stories sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone.